All right, what's up, everybody? It's Hutch here, and this is your more challenging multi-step equations. This is really the top higher level of this kind of thing. I want to give you some experience with these kind of problems. I'm going to do the top six with you. The bottom section is homework for you to push yourself and see how you do. But I am going to continue walking through the bottom problems, even though you don't have to continue listening to me. If you don't want to, you can just go ahead and try them out on your own and then go to the video if you need. Also, another support for you, the answers are down below. So you actually don't need to plug in your number to check. You can see what the x equals, or whatever the variable is, equals there. And if it's not the same, then you know you messed something up. Okay, so you're going to have to think through what you did wrong or check the video. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Number one. So a couple things to remember. I always want you to separate your workspace out. Okay, because of those equality properties. We need to do the same thing on both sides. And remember, we're focusing on SAD merg, okay, which is opposite order of operations. So we're going to take care of any addition, subtraction first, then multiplication, division, any exponents and roots, and then grouping at the end. So here we go. Okay, I see addition, subtraction, so I'm going to subtract 2 to both sides. Always get in the habit of crossing things out as we go. And then you need to bring everything down nice and neat. So we have n divided by 2 equals a -2, and a -2 is a -4. Okay, so just be careful with all your integer stuff. I have an n divided by 2, so opposite would be multiply by -2 to both sides. Notice where that goes. When we're multiplying, we put it to the left or right of the numbers, and it's in the numerator. Okay, so times -2. That way you can see the numerator divided by the denominator cancel each other out. And we're left with n equals negative times a negative is a positive, so n equals 8 for number one. The quick check would be to slide down. Yep, we got 8, so we're good. Okay, over to number two. This is the tricky one that I need you to remember. When we have multiple terms in a numerator, there's invisible parentheses. And because there's invisible parentheses, that means that that's the last thing that we're going to take care of, meaning you can't touch anything in that numerator yet. Okay, please don't think this is a -2. I know it's a -2 down below there, but this is a divided by -2. Okay, so how do you get rid of a divided by a -2? You're going to have to multiply by -2, and remember that goes to the right or left. Multiply by a -2. These cancel out, which also makes our parentheses go bye-bye. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and separate my workspace. I don't want to forget about that. Okay, and then here we go. We can go ahead and take our time with this now. So 2 times 2 is 4, but it's going to be a -4 now, equals p plus 5. Okay, now that my parentheses are gone, because they're not in a numerator or anything like that, I can go ahead and start isolating the variable. So we're going to subtract 5 on both sides. Okay, and then here we go, cross that out because we have a 0 pair now. And we have a -9 equals p. Let's go ahead and check number 2. Yep, -9, so we're good. Okay. All right, on to number 3. Same type of thing, okay? We have invisible parentheses, so we can't touch that yet, okay? Let's go ahead and get rid of our divided by 3. How would we do that? Well, we would multiply 3 to both sides, and when we're multiplying, that goes to the right or left, okay? So numerator divided by denominator, that's gone now. I'm going to go ahead and separate my workspace here. What are we left with? Well, now parentheses are all gone because we got rid of our need for them, okay? And 3 times 6 is 18, but it's negative. Okay, let's go ahead and now we can isolate the variable, get rid of that -8 by doing a +8 to both sides. Cancels that out, and what are we left with? We're left with n equals And then we have different signs subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So 18 minus 8 is 10, and that's negative. And I looked at the answer when I was looking at number 2, and we are correct, negative 10. Okay, so let's go over to number 4. Same scenario again. What should we put on top? Okay, invisible parentheses here. Okay, all right, which means we need to take care of this divided by 21 first. Let's go ahead and create our workspace here and solve for the variable. So these ones so far are actually easier than the ones you did before, because we've done variables on both sides, and these haven't had any variables on both sides yet. So this is actually simpler than what you've done at this point. Okay, so this should be a nice review for you. Okay, all right, so we have got rid of the divided by 21, so we're left with 21 equals, and our parentheses are gone now. So there we go with that, and we'll finish it off. We have a positive 2. So let's go ahead and subtract 2 to both sides. That goes away, and we are left with m equals 21 minus 2 is 19. Let's go ahead and check that for number 4. And number 4 is 19. Okay. 5 and 6, we have a negative 3 and a 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at those ones. We'll see if we get the same thing. Okay, all right, so now we're mixing it up a little bit. We have some distributive and things like that. So let's go ahead and tackle these. Okay, so we know the first thing that we want to do so that we can start moving things around is actually get rid of our parentheses here. Okay, and so we're going to go ahead and distribute this, and we're always going to distribute with those arcs like that. Okay, so let's create our workspace. So this is just sort of preparing our problem. So I'm going to go ahead right away and do a rewrite down below. So I have 48 equals 4b. Make sure b doesn't look like a 6. I don't really like using that variable. All right, and now we have a negative 4 times 4b. So 4 times 4 is 16. So, but that's negative, so we have negative 16b. Okay, and then negative 4 times a negative 3, okay, is 3, 6, 9, 12. So we have a positive 12. Okay, all right. So another way to look at that is if you KFC'd this, we're distributing this negative 4 to both of those. Okay, so same type of thing. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead, and now that we have this, we can go ahead and start to move things around. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our positive 12 moved over to the other side. So we're going to subtract 12 to both sides. Okay, that cancels out. And anytime you're doing math work, if it's not super simple and you might make a mistake, then use your calculator and make sure it's correct. Okay, it's always good to check your work with the calculator. So we have 36 equals, and then I want you to think about this. We just have a 4b minus a 16b. Those are like terms, okay? And we're allowed to combine like terms. If we have a 4b and a negative 16b, that's just different sign, subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So I have 16 minus 4, okay, is a negative 12. So we just have a negative 12b, okay, when I take care of that problem right there. Okay, all right, let's go ahead now and isolate the variable. So we have a b times a negative 12. Okay, so I'm going to divide by negative 12 on both sides. That cancels out, and what are we left with? We're left with b equals 12, 24, 36, negative 3. Okay, and if you remember from when we looked, that is correct. All right, let's go ahead to this one. We do have variables on both sides like we've been practicing now. Okay, so let's go ahead and separate our workspace out. Okay, and the first thing that you should see is when you see parentheses and some sort of coefficient on the outside, we need to distribute to get rid of those parentheses. Okay, so what we're going to do is go ahead and draw our distributing arcs, okay? This one here, take a look, is also something that needs distributed, okay? It is actually a number, right? What number is it if there's nothing written there, okay? So we have something out here. If we're distributing this negative out, it's just like distributing a -1. Okay, so if you want to put a 1 there, it might make it visually a little bit more easy to understand. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and get this distributing done and make our first row here. So we have -4 times 2x is -8x. -4 times a -2 is +8, so that's +8. Okay, you could KFC in there if you want. I'm just looking at this number as a -2. Okay, all right, equals. Okay, and then -1 times 4x is just, we're just gonna turn these into opposites basically. -1 times a -4. Again, I'm looking at this just as a -4 instead of KFCing it. Okay, but it would be the same thing. -1 times -4. Okay, still same thing. Is a 4, so we have a +4. Okay, and just to see that it didn't matter whether I KFC'd or not, a -1 times a -4 is still a +4. Okay, all right, so now that I got rid of all the parentheses, now we can just start moving things around. Okay, so let's go ahead. I think I'm going to move this number first. So subtract 4, subtract 4. That goes away. Always do your rewrite. Keep it nice and organized. So we have a -8x equals, and don't forget about your equal signs. Oops, sorry. Back up. So I just saw bunches of x's. That's why I was like, that's not right. Okay, so we have -8x. 8 minus 4 is 4. Equals -4x. That looks better. Okay, now let's go ahead and move our 8x over. So it's a -8x, so we need to add 8x to both sides. We're not doing our division yet. We're just moving the positive or negative amount of x's. That goes away. Do your rewrite down below. And what do you have left over? We have a 4 equals. Different sign subtracts. 8 minus 4 is 4x. Keep the sign of the bigger. And there we go. Isolate the variable now. Divide 4 by both sides because we have an x times 4. That cancels out, and we're left with x equals 1. Let's check number 6 because I don't remember what it said. Yep, x equals 1. We're good. All right, so the rest is homework. Okay. A lot of them are exactly like what you experienced above. Okay, so you shouldn't run into any problems. Your biggest one that I'm excited to see what you do is 13 and 14. So 13, remember this negative in the front here, and how you would distribute that. And then 14, you have variables on both sides. You have a lot of distributing that has to happen before you even get started with things. And then you do have a lot of like terms that you can be combining and moving around. So I'm excited to see how you do with pulling that off. Okay. All right. So you can go ahead and stop the video and work on those independently. If you need to go back and see how to solve it, though, I am going to continue the video at this point. Okay. All right. See you later. All right. Number 7. I'm going to go through these as quick as possible. Here we go. Invisible parentheses, and I have a divided by 3, so I'm going to multiply by 3 to both sides. This gets crossed out. What are we left with? We got rid of our parentheses now by getting rid of that fraction. Equals 21. Now I can go ahead and subtract 4 to both sides, and we are left with n equals 21 minus 4, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, and there we go, number 7, 17. Let's go ahead and check it. Number 7, yep, 17. The next one answer is 4. So let's go ahead and see here. I'm going to go ahead and separate my workspace real quick. All right, first thing is going to be to get rid of the 8 here because we do the most simple first. Remember, we're doing SAD merg. So addition, subtraction first. So plus 8 plus 8. Okay. And then that goes away. What are we left with? We're left with b divided by 2 equals different sign, subtract. So 8 minus 6 is a 2. And then we can go ahead and get rid of our divided by 2 by multiplying by 2. And we always write that on the sides. And we are left with b equals 4. And we know we're good because we checked below. All right, 9 and 10. Let me get my answers for 9 and 10. They are 11 and negative 17. So I'm just going to make a note here. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and give this one a shot. Okay, so Sadmerg says do the simple stuff first. So add 8 to both sides. That goes away. What's left over? We have a negative 5x equals negative 63 plus 8. Different signs, subtract. 63 minus 8. Keep the sign of the bigger, so we have a negative 55. All right, and then we can isolate the variable, divided by negative 5, divided by negative 5, and we are left with x equals, it should be 11 there. Let's double check. Yep, there you go. Negative divided by negative is a positive 11, and we're good. Okay, all right, over to number 10. Okay, oh, look, we got this fraction. We have stuff in the numerator right away, invisible parentheses, which means we need to take care of the divided by 9 first. Always be aware of the operation going on here, okay? This would be the same as having this right here, okay? But that top part is in parentheses because it's the entire thing divided by 9, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and multiply by 9 on both sides. I'm going to separate my workspace. Whoosh. Nice and straight there. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is all gone. What are we left with? Well, our parentheses are gone, and we're left with 9 times negative 1, which is negative 9. We can go ahead and isolate the variable by subtracting 8 to both sides. And what are we left with? We're left with a negative 17 equals v, and we are correct. Okay. All right, on to number 11. Okay, let's see. Go ahead and see what 11 and 12 are. So 11's negative 3, 12 is 4. So negative 3, 4, might as well get 13, 14. 13 is 7, 14 is 6. So 7 and 6. Just going to jot that down there. That way I don't have to zoom back down again. All right, here we go. If you need help with this one, take a look. First thing I see is I need to distribute this to get rid of the parentheses, okay, because it's sort of locking me up because I'm not allowed to touch anything in there. So we have a 12 minus 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. I already have the negative written, so negative 20k. Okay, or 4 times 5 is 20k, equals 72. Now I can go ahead and start working out this equation. So Sadmerg says get rid of this positive 12 first by subtracting 12 to both on both sides. And then we are left with negative 20k equals 72 minus 12 is 62, 61, 60. Okay, and then we have a k times a negative 20, so we're going to divide negative 20 on both sides, and we're left with k equals 246, negative 3, and we're good. Okay, checks out. All right, number 12, let's go ahead and do this distributing first, okay, because those parentheses are locking us up. We got to get rid of them so we can do our Sadmerg. Okay, so go ahead and separate your workspace so we don't lose track of our sides. 78 equals, again, this is a negative p or negative 1p if that helps you out. Sometimes I like to do that. Negative 6 times a negative 1 is a positive 6p. Negative 6 times a negative 5 is a 30, so plus positive 30. And then we have plus 6p. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and get rid of our 30 by subtracting 30 on both sides. Okay, that goes away. 78 minus 30 is just 48. Okay, so we have 48 equals, and then we have, look what we have over here. We have a 6p and a 6p. Well, isn't that just 12p? Okay, so that's our combining like terms. Okay, and you're able to do that if they're on the same side with each other. Okay, all right, and then we can go ahead and divide by 12 because we have p times 12. That goes away, and we're left with p equals 4. Okay, and that's what we were supposed to get, so we're good. All right, last two. We have a double distributing here, and this is a negative that we're distributing. I'm going to look at it as a -1 to just help my brain out here. And then I have a +2 we're distributing. Okay, let's go ahead and separate our workspace, and here we go. Okay, so we have a -7 equals -1 times -4 is a +4 plus -1 times 3n is -3n. I don't want to have the plus a negative, so I'm going to just write -3n. Okay, all right, and then we have plus 2 times n, and then +2 times a -2 is -4, so I'm just putting a -4. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and start moving things around. Let's get rid of our numbers first. You have a couple options. I can see some like terms here. Okay, so I have a 4 and a -4. Okay, if I have a 4 and a -4, isn't that just nothing? Because think about, I'd subtract 4 to both sides, and then I would have to add 4 to both sides to get rid of both those. So really, those just cancel each other out. My other like terms are this -3n and +2n. Different signs subtract. So really, I'm left with -7 equals -1n. Okay? And so if I have a -n, that's sort of like saying the opposite of n is -7. So that means that n is actually 7. Okay, but I could finish it out. Technically, mathematically, I would divide both sides by -1. That would go away, and I would be left with n equals 7. Okay, all right, so 13's good. Let's finish up with 14, and we're all set. So separating our workspace here, we got to create a 6. So let's see if we can pull it off. I know that I'm distributing these to free us from the parentheses that are locking up our terms here. So let's go ahead and do a rewrite. One thing I can start to do is actually I can combine some like terms as I go here. So I have a -4n and a +1n. Okay, so we might as well go ahead and combine those, and we have a -3n minus 5 equals. Okay, so you can combine like terms if they're on the same side together. Okay, all right, now we need to do our distributing. So 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times a -7 would be a -49n, plus 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36n. Let's go ahead and combine like terms on this side also. Okay, so we have a +49 and a +6, and I have a -49n and a +36n. Okay, so we're going to do a rewrite here. We have -3n minus 5 equals, and let's get these terms combined. So 49 plus 6 is 55. Okay, and then we have a -49 and a +36. Different signs subtract. 49 minus 36. Keep the sign of the bigger number. Minus 13n. Okay, all right, so there we go. You can see how you're combining like terms comes into play with these as well now. Okay, all right, now let's start to move things around. So we have the variables on one side. Let's see, why don't we, I think I'm just going to add 5 to both sides. Get rid of this. And so we're left with a -3n equals 60 minus 13n. Now we want to get the n's over there, so I'm going to add 13n to both sides. That goes away now, and we're left with 60 equals, different signs subtract, 13, 12, 11, 10, so we have 10n. Oh, looking good. Divide both sides by 10, and we have n equals 6, which is our answer. All right, there you go. That's how to do those problems. Let me know if you need any help.